There's a few ways to think about getting feed data into SOAR. We can just natively pump our feed data into XSOAR. And our goal, again, is to get this data available to you in these platforms. So plugging this directly into XSOAR through our new domain tools feed app, which is pictured here. Again, you can see the menu of our feeds. The other angle here is getting this feed pushed from Splunk, right? So in Splunk, I had a match against my log from the feed, and that webhook can kick it over to my SOAR. In this case, we're looking at XSOAR, can kick it over and kick off an automated workflow. I highlight this. Well, this picture is a little grainy, but I hope you can read. It's that silly goose domain name. I just want to take a quick look of like what that workflow actually looks like. So I actually pulled this from Iris Investigate. If you guys are customers, this will look familiar. Something that we highlight in our data set, obviously, is the rich context associated with the data sets. This data here is not necessarily part of like our nod feed or our risk feed outside of the risk score and the domain name. But in our data set, we do reverse index counting on the metadata associated with a domain. And that's also available through API, which can power automated pivoting, which is super powerful in combination with a SOAR platform, which allows you to start with a single domain and expand to more domains to make a more comprehensive remediation action, not just against one domain, but maybe against that domain's sibling. So in Iris Investigate, it's pretty easy to do a quick pivot and see, okay, this is this registrant org, and I've got this Tegan Shree Smith name, and I can see there's two domains that were created on the same date that look exactly the same. One is a 100 risk score. A 100 risk score means that's a domain we saw on one of those block lists or threat intel feeds that I had mentioned. So this is a known bad domain, and then there's another one that looks just like it at a different TLD that's got an 89 risk score, which is really getting up there. What we can do in a playbook app like XSOAR is automate some of that pivoting. But this is one of our playbooks that basically inspects the entire payload relative to a domain that has been kicked off into an XSOAR playbook. And I ran this against that silly goose domain. Basically, it's asking, hey, I've got the entire domain tools response for looking up a specific domain. Check against all of these fields and see, are there reverse pivot counts, which are provided through the API, less than 500, less than 200? You can adjust that to taste, but it will automatically pull those additional domains into the workflow that you're working in. In this case, we already saw this in Iris Investigate. This is kind of like the raw context response. Again, we can see this Tegan Shree Smith registrant org name, and you can see these numbers here. That's a part of the response body from the Iris Investigate API. What the playbook is doing is seeing, oh, there's only two other domains that have that. Let me reverse pivot on registrant org Tegan or Smith, Tegan Shree, and see what those other domains are. In this case, actually, it did the registrant where there are 8 domains. I can see those 8 domains. Here's that same pivot for the registrant org, as we saw, same thing in Iris Investigate. And then what you can do from there is aggregate those domains, right, in your playbook, depending on how they're built. Throw them back to the beginning and say, hey, I don't want anybody going to these, block these. It's already been clicked on, kicked off this whole playbook, and we can throw these back to the beginning of our perimeter and take proactive defenses against it.